was the finest intro in all of Jets content creation here on YouTube. Welcome to the Talking Jets Network. This is ArmChair GM. I am Green Bean, and that is my buddy Tigo right there, who's very excited because he just woofed down a massive bowl of chicken Alfredo pasta. Amazing. Tigo, am I right? Are you having a good night, my friend?
I am full. I am satiated. I'm ready to talk about the only thing, honestly, that brings me sadness in my life, which is the New York Jets, and they never fail to disappoint.
Isn't it something? We
It's
spend
the only
all
thing, mean, and like that's a good thing. It's a good thing that the only thing that brings me sadness is the Jets. It means I have a pretty good life, and it's true. I do. I'm not, but it's the only thing that brings me sadness in my life is.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's like if this is the one thing that's negative in your life, then you're doing okay. But the other thing we'd have to check on, psychiatrists and psychologists would be very interested to learn if our life is so good, why in fact do you why is it that you force yourself into this pocket on a such a consistent basis? But that's our life. We are Jets fans. We're locked into this thing. The most exciting team of all in all of the NFL, in all sports, I would say. If you're looking at it from the dramatic and storyline perspective, no one better than the New York Jets. They even infiltrated Super Bowl Sunday, Tigo. We thought we were going to kick back. I was making wings. And I cleaned the gutters and I did a whole bunch of stuff around the yard. And I was sitting down on the couch. I was kicking back. I had every intention of slipping in and out of naps. And all of a sudden, I get the alerts. And then the text thread starts. And then the Discord. And then everything goes nuts. And the Jets news reigns supreme pre-Super Bowl. Tell me that shit wasn't planned. You think Woody's got a design on that shit?
Woody is a master of getting clicks on the New York Jets. If only he was as good at getting clicks as he was at if he used 10% of the effort that it takes to get clicks for the Jets, because he's clicks above all else. Jets are going to be in the news cycle constantly, whether you want to or not. If he used 10% of that effort to actually building a good franchise, we might be the most dominant franchise in sports history.
Well, we might at least be a team that's won its division at least once since 2002. It could be that. Maybe we wouldn't be the only team in the NFL that a team that's hasn't even been in the division in 20 years has more division titles than we do. Maybe just something like that. Maybe we wouldn't be the team with the longest active streak in all of North American sports, the longest active playoff drought streak. So, right. I think you are nailing it. Woody is a master at keeping us engaged, and dare I say, slightly upset, Tigo. So the news that came through, as we know, and everybody knows now. I want to hear your take on this, though. Is that the Jets decided to end the Aaron Rodgers era. It could be labeled the Aaron Rodgers error. We gave away, what ended up being a high, a second-round pick. We flip-flopped first-round picks, which ended up not being the worst thing in the world. We were, rumored to want Broderick Jones. He hasn't played so well. Will McDonald looks like a firecracker. So maybe we did okay there. But the second round pick, but it's more than that, Tigo. So, we've basically got 5 wins and 4 plays. That's what we got out of the Aaron Rodgers era. And a lot of Jets fans, look, we talked about it ad nauseum going into it. Should we, could we, would we? But they made the decision, and Jets fans were kind of in 2 camps, I think, mostly. There was we're idiots. We're throwing away the first quarterback that had 3,900 yards and, whatever. That we've had since Namath, kind of a thing. And then there's the other side, like, you absolutely have to do this. If, he's not going to play ball with a first-time offensive coordinator. There's just no way he's going to do that. And, keeping him around, keeps that divisive aspect. And it kind of puts a stick in the spokes of the idea of truly cleaning house. too. If you're going to clean house and keep the largest figure in the house, that was part of the problem, then maybe there's, maybe it's not a clean house after all. Where do you stand on the whole thing? Were you happy? Were you sad? Were you mad? Glad? What'd you take out of this one?
I was just disappointed. I was disappointed. I think the biggest thing is like going into this whole situation. I think you and I were in agreement for different reasons that like neither one of us wanted Glenn. You didn't want to go back down the route of defensive-minded rookie head coach. You wanted a veteran to come in. You didn't care if they were defensive, offensive. You just didn't want a rookie head coach. Totally. Right. I was like, I don't care about rookie head coach, veteran head coach. I want an offensive mind. So I think it's fair to say that neither one of us really wanted.
Right. For different reasons. No, neither one of us. This wasn't our top guy.
Yeah. He wasn't on my list because none of the defensive guys were on my list, especially when Vrabel said that he wanted McDaniel as his OC. But
yeah, that's right.
It's true. I was right. That's besides the point. And so I said it on this show like 3-4 weeks ago. I said, look, I am going to give Glenn and Muji every opportunity that they deserve because I don't fundamentally understand the type of people that are like, that's not the guy. I didn't want that guy, so I hope he fails. What? No, I would rather be wrong and the Jets win than me be right and the Jets lose. Just win. That's all I care about.
Yeah, right.
Honestly, I don't care about being right. I just want to be able to wear my Jets gear outside and have some other person, instead of looking at me and being like, ooh, the Jets, be like, oh, the Jets played well this week. That's all I want in life. That's all I want in life. Or to be able to walk down the street and have my kids wear Jets gear, and then some strange lady comes up and be like, they did good this week, whatever. I've got cute kids, and they look really good in Gotham Green. But I can't do that to them. I can't do it to them.
Yeah.
And that's all that I want. And that's what I was going to give Glenn the opportunity to do. And this whole Aaron situation, Rodgers, I guess, because they're both Aaron. This Rodgers situation just puts a really, really bad taste in my mouth because it's just like you actively chose to make your tenure at the start of the New York Jets as the New York Jets head coach, that era, badly, because there isn't a solution at quarterback. And so you're actively choosing to, instead of saying like a team that has some holes, no, that's fine. At least we've got a quarterback that we can bridge to 2026 to go get our guy. And at least we have 2 wide receivers. No. Now you have 1 wide receiver who, well, I'm betting that these trade request rumors are only going to ramp up. And it's a guy that was beloved in the locker room. Every report that came out was that he was a guy that was beloved in the locker room. Quinnen comes out in tweets and all of these things. DJ Reed and a bunch of these different guys come out in support of Aaron. We know how close him and Sauce were. So it's just like, and to me, the way that I look at this comes in and it looks like Glenn had to be the biggest dick in the locker room. He had to come in like we all saw the scene in Captain Phillips and be like, I'm the captain now. And a part of me feels like he went into this conversation looking for an excuse so that he could say Rodgers didn't want to play ball. That's why we had to cut him. Because I haven't. Right. Because
say that again. So flesh that out for me. What do you mean by that?
So because I think we need to look at Aaron Glenn in the big picture. Aaron Glenn came from Bill Parcells. That's the guy that he looks up to as a head coach, right? That's the guy. And then his mentor is Sean Payton, right? But his philosophy as a coach goes back to Parcells. And we had Parcells in a different generation of football, and I love Parcells. But what was, if you guys can remember in the chat, maybe you can beat me to it. What was Parcells' philosophy on the offensive side of the ball when it came to the quarterback? We all know it.
Right. He was more of efficiency, it was high, if you look back to the Phil Simms, his best years, it was just high. What's the word I'm looking for? Well, like efficiency, dump offs, but it was really a ground game. It was ball control. That was Parcells' offense.
Kiuka Lake said it beautifully. I was waiting for someone in the chat to say it. Says it a little bit differently, but he was anti-superstar quarterback. And here's the thing. In the 90s and the early 2000s, that worked. You could win games and you could win championships without a superstar quarterback. Because if we look back at those times, most of the quarterbacks that were winning weren't like superstars. Because like Michael Vick doesn't have a ring as far as I remember, but he was a superstar. You know, like it's besides the point. That philosophy worked in the past. It doesn't work now. The Lions failed because they don't have a superstar quarterback. The Vikings failed because, well, they don't have a superstar quarterback. The Denver Broncos failed because they don't have a superstar quarterback. And in the reverse, you could even say that it's too early. I'm not going to call him a superstar, but the Commies made an NFC championship game off the back of Jaden Daniels because that roster's not good. Outside of Terry McLaurin and Jaden Daniels, that was coaching and Jaden Daniels willing that team to an NFC championship game.
Yeah.
You need a superstar quarterback in the modern NFL if you want to compete. And I'm not sitting here and saying that Rodgers is a superstar quarterback. That's not the point. But he has been a superstar. And that's the narrative. And so I think he goes into that meeting with Rodgers, Glenn does, and goes...
And he put landmines, right?
And he just said, I'm not going to give you an inch. I'm not going to give you an inch. We're not going to have a conversation. This is my team. This is my thing. Blah, 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 blah. If you're going to say anything other than, yes, coach, you're out of here. And that's not how you treat a superstar quarterback, which in today's modern NFL, you need to win. And so, and I think it's kind of hypocritical because it's like, oh, so like on his days off, he can't talk to people like that he wants to talk to. Where'd you get that from? Freaking Amon-Ra St. Brown and his brother have a weekly podcast that they do. And they talk about football, but Rodgers can't go on the McAfee show. And that's the hiccup. I think it'd be more than willing to adapt his offense. I think. Not fully. I don't think he would fully run a Tanner Engstrand offense. I think that he would want a couple of his things that he feels comfortable in there with. But like that's what you do. You adapt your play calling to the players that you have. You don't try to force a square peg into a round hole. If you don't have a guy who can operate on those things, why are we doing it? Robert Saleh is a really good example of he did that with Sauce Gardner. Sauce, coming out of the draft, was a man coverage corner who was going to struggle in a zone-heavy scheme, which was what the New York Jets were. So It was really weird that we took Sauce. And you know how they fixed that? They played primarily quarter halves. They played a variation of cover 3 that essentially put Sauce Gardner in man coverage every single play. And that's what succeeded for him. And that's what made him work. You adapt your play calling for the players that you have. It's not that complicated.
Yeah.
So it's just, now we're in a situation where we don't have a quarterback and I don't love the options.
Yep. Okay. Well, I think number one, I like what you said about, the way that now there's two sides to it too, but I like how you pointed out that Aaron Glenn, with the sit down. Now we don't know how it happened, and I'm sure it was amicable, like friendly. It wasn't necessarily argumentative or contentious or whatever, but letting them know, like, look, dude, this is my team, and here's how I'm going to run things. You're welcome to stay if you do these following things. And, the whole thing with McAfee is like, so when you're saying you think he'd be willing to adapt himself to a new offense, first-time offensive coordinator, okay, maybe in the beginning, in training camp, in the honeymoon phase, I agree. But what happens is when the inevitable, if just what we've seen from last year takes place, where somebody's out of position, he throws the ball, he's not at the red line, whatever, some shit like that happens, and he's on McAfee, and they're asking, hey, so how's it going with the new offensive coordinator, whatever, when he's trying to take blame off of himself and point it somewhere else, if there's any issues, and he starts throwing this kid under the bus, I got to listen to this guy's never even done it, and I'm Aaron Rodgers, and I'm supposed to, whatever. it can really be problematic. And avoiding that drama, I think, is vitally important. I think if Aaron Rodgers was really into kind of embracing what this all is, which is a new regime, it's a weird circumstance. Nobody wanted to be here. Here's where we are. Here's how we got to handle it, because there are certain sensitivities we have to consider. I can't have one of the all-time great quarterbacks on an hour spot on a public, a channel, if you will, a show that gets millions of viewers. I cannot have that kind of free-form thing with the chance of dividing everything I'm trying to do here. I cannot have the rug pulled out from under me. If you can agree to that, I get it, that it's a weird ask, but I need you to agree to it. I'm not agreeing to that. That kind of a thing. Well, then I can't have you here, man. And like, look, they talked about he's got to be here for all the mandatory. They made such a big deal about it, dude. Aaron Rodgers was at every voluntary and every mandatory except for we're talking about 2 practices.
Yeah, like 2 that he missed.
I know. We're still making a big deal about this. Like,
my thing with that, Green Bean, sorry, because I don't want you to go past it. When did he throw? And there was opportunity. There was plenty of opportunity. When in the last 2 years did Rodgers go on the Pat McAfee show and when asked about anything about the New York Jets, didn't say something positive or be like, or just deflect the question entirely? Because there's not
he attempts at deflecting, but he deflects in a way. Now, pulling out examples, I'm not going to be able to do for you. But he deflects in a way with a tone that almost speaks in and of itself, like just all on its own, Tigo. And you can't deny that. So, and he's got the post-game pressers is really more where he kind of is more susceptible of throwing guys under the bus. And he did it often. Yeah. He pointed things out often in post-game pressers, whether it was the coach, we don't hold anybody accountable, whether it was the offensive line, whether it was the famous red line comment, so that you just got to know, like, that's going to happen. So if they don't even want the opportunity to do that, if they know, look, we got a new staff, it's going to take us a minute to get our feet underneath us. It's not even worth the risk to me. And having Diana Rossini writing articles over every fucking thing that's going on with you, because she's secretly in love with you, which is what I think's really going on. She's in love with him. She's a scorned,
she's a scorned ex-lover, is my guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Something happened there back like 15 years ago,
man.
Something happened 15 years ago.
She bent over in front of him and he walked by.
He was the backup, and she was like still like an on-field reporter. Something.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but anyway, I think it's like, look, I've shared, I was on the panel and the after hours show last night, and I shared, like, I told everybody, and I was definitely in the camp of, I think we should just run it back, to get our right tackle, figure out your tight ends, figure out the depth at the offensive line position, which is what I think we were really weak at last year, which is why you saw 4 offensive tackles on the line in one game. Mm-hmm. So, we had some work to do, but by and obviously wide receiver, but Devante would be here if Aaron Rodgers was here.
Yep.
So that's kind of there. You got, the top 3 are at least intact. But run it back. Just like you said, it's kind of a flux year with a chance of something sparking, because they have a year under their belt. But I do get it. Like, looking at it through an objective lens, like, I get it. I can't say I don't understand.
No, I get the move. I just think it's the wrong move. The problem is the timing of it. We don't have a pivot. This quarterback class is horrible. It's not good. So you're not going to find your guy. We need to get to 2026. That should have always been the goal. If you're a new head coach coming into this team and you're evaluating this roster, the goal should be, how can I keep a team that for the last 15 years knows nothing but losing? How do I keep this team together for one more year, keep everybody happy for one more year so that I can get to 2026, so that I can go get my guy in 2026? Because now my biggest fear is in a class that we can all agree is not a good quarterback class, we're going to go up and get a guy. And I don't want that. But if the reports are coming out that Woody is infatuated with Sanders, or maybe Glenn is going to be, he likes Cam Ward or whatever, we really going to go trade up 2 firsts, 2 seconds to the Tennessee Titans to go get Cam Ward?
Yeah.
The fact
that
Tennessee would be willing to do that, a team that needs a quarterback, should be telling.
Yeah.
And now, let's say that's not the move. Okay, cool. I see Jackson Dart's name being thrown around, Milroe's name being thrown around. Oh, maybe we take a guy in the second. Great. Now we have a guy in the second round, so that next year, when it's an actually good quarterback class, we're going to have the people like this year who are saying,
and there we come.
He can't mechanically throw the football, and he had a catastrophic leg injury, hasn't played football in a year or practiced in a year. That's the guy that's going to take us to a Super Bowl. Let's pass on Patrick Mahomes because we have Hackenberg.
Well, that's the thing. It's not like the Jets haven't done that before. We took Geno Smith in the second, and we took Hackenberg in the second. So when you do that, that's high enough that you're betting that he has the potential to be your guy. You look at him as a guy. Yeah, he's a guy who slipped. You know what I mean? Slipped, and you got your gem in the second round. But let me say, like, pivoting to Jordan Travis, and then I'll get to your super chats. I see Joe and someone else. The thing is this. Like, Aaron Rodgers aside, like, it's, again, we got to factor in too that he probably had some demands as well. Yeah. Like, don't forget, he has his own very strong opinions and could have very well just said, look, I'm not really looking to do that. I want out. You know what I mean? I don't like Woody, whatever the hell the reasons may have been. I'm speculating, of course, but I'm just hypothesizing. So we got to factor that in as well. But the whole thing is that, like, so pivoting to what you just mentioned, Jordan Travis, and I don't like that, you throw because he had a leg injury, his career's over, right?
No. I imply that his career was over because he's not good at football at the NFL level, that he's Tebow-esque. He's mechanically broken in the way that he throws the ball, and it's not going to work at the NFL level. I just also threw in that he hasn't played football in a year. That wasn't supposed to be the focus.
Yeah, right.
The focus is he's not a good thrower of the football mechanically.
Right. So his throwing motion is the rub, but he is a dual threat quarterback. And the motion aside, he can play fucking football. So you might have a guy here, and in a year that's heading into such a strong quarterback class, see what you have. Like, Tyrod Taylor is not going to inspire anybody's excitement necessarily, but the guy can play. So if he can play middling average football, he can win you some games. He's going to limit mistakes and all those kinds of things. And you can win some games with him. I think a lot of games last year, if you took out some of the glaring mistakes, whether it be, the pick sixes in some of those games or what have you, or just the month where he was just completely ineffective, Aaron Rodgers. If you have somebody that played average football in those games, there's an argument to be made that we could have won some of those, right? So Tyrod Taylor is going to be able to win you some games. But he's potential to get hurt too, not to make it through the whole season. So having him start 5, 6, 7 games and getting to see what you have in Jordan Travis, maybe you already have your guy and he could use some work and development and all that, but he's got the chops. I would rather see that. And if you don't think that the guy, look, this is a different regime, right? So you can't blame them if they don't like him. But you don't bring a guy in at all if you don't think he can play NFL football. And Jordan Travis, it's not that, people say, oh, he was a first-round pick. I don't think he was a first-round pick, but he was definitely in the top 3 rounds last year, without question, without that injury. I don't think there's even a debate about it. And that says enough about his potential to make it in the NFL. I would rather see what we have and then go into next year. But like you said, if we trade up, there's some speculation, trading up to the back end of the first to get the 5th-year option and taking Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe. Okay. But like you said, next year's quarterback class is actually strong, and you're unlikely to do it 2 years in a row, especially if it is a trade up.
And like the other thing too is, like, we've seen we saw what the blueprint is for what Rodgers could have been for the New York Jets. And it's another team in our division. They gave us the blueprint of what a rookie defensive-minded head coach could do to get his guy, end a playoff drought, while still be competitive and building a team for the future. And that was what McDermott did with Buffalo. Let's not forget that, ironically, when McDermott was hired in Buffalo, his first year, he kept Tyrod. The entire organization was ready to move on. He kept Tyrod for a year, in a year where everybody said, no, you have to lose out so that you can go get your quarterback. Went to the playoffs, fizzled out in the playoffs. And then in the following year, the year where they knew they needed a quarterback, came up in the first round. And now we have MVP Josh Allen, which we all have to sit here and do 5 or 6 Hail Marys a day to hope and pray that they never win a Super Bowl, because I think them winning a Super Bowl is worst case scenario for sports and life and happiness of the universe. Buffalo can't win. We got to keep that on them. You know, they want to like to yell at us, oh, they're the only team that play in New York. No, you play in Canada and you don't have a Super Bowl. Shut up. But like we saw the blueprint. You can have your cake and eat it too. You can have a team that's competitive and make the playoffs while also gearing up for the future so that you can have sustained success. It's not one or the other. You can build a culture with a player that you don't expect to be here all that long. You're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
You know, and good coaches, they tend to be able to overcome egos and things like that. Mike Tomlin hasn't been a head coach in the NFL for the last 20 years because he hasn't been able to handle and manage an ego. I'm sorry, because when we see all these guys who leave Pittsburgh, they fall apart because of their egos. Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster. And Juju has a ring now, but that's because
he does
happen to be on the Kansas City Chiefs roster. It's just...
Yeah, right. It's like Jason Brownlee getting one if he didn't get it this year, but it's like Bryce Huff. Bryce Huff was a healthy scratch.
Kenny two gloves Pickett has a Super Bowl ring. They're going to have to get a specially made extra small Super Bowl ring for him. I think he should just wear it around his neck because I don't think it's going to... Tiny hands, but we've seen the blueprint. You can do it. Freaking that's what happens. You're allowed to be a good football team and still want to get a quarterback in the future. You don't have to be bad to get your quarterback of the future. San Francisco wasn't a bad team when they went to go get Trey Lance. Now, Trey Lance was good at football.
It didn't work out, but they did it.
You're allowed to be good and still try to go get your quarterback. You don't have to suck.
Yeah, I know. That's an interesting thought. A lot of times you think that...
The Ravens.
That you do. Yeah, they had
Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. No,
everybody knew it was time to move on from Joe Flacco, but
no, it's a good point. You kind of think that you got to suck, but that's not necessarily the case. Let me do the read and then we'll get into your super chats. I want to remind everybody about the offer from the great Bet US, everybody. The only sports book out there offering you a 150% bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000, all by using the promo code YouTube150. Guys, it's the offer of offers on America's favorite sports book. The secret hidden gem is that it not only does that, it also gets you a 125% bonus on your next 2 deposits up to $2,000. Bet US, the football season is over, but that doesn't mean that you can't still play and have a blast utilizing this amazing offer on Bet US. Darts, swimming, pool, bowling, it's all on there. Major League Baseball, isn't spring training camps coming up for baseball?
Soon. I don't know, but I'm getting the articles. Mets training camp is starting soon or something breaking the rosters. So we're getting there.
That's right. You can do all kinds of prop bets on there for that kind of stuff. Who's going to make the team?
Betting on bowling is addicting. I'm very glad that we don't have betting in Florida because that was one of those rabbit holes I went down Green Bean.
Oh, yeah?
If I had access to Bet US, I'd be betting on bowling in the middle of the night for no
Well,
reason.
that's something we didn't know about Tigo. He bets bowling, everybody. He's addicted. He's at the bowling lanes making bets on the league. He's at the league games placing wagers on the Big Lebowski and his friends. But guys, there it is. Bet US. YouTube 150 is the offer. Thank you to Bet US for hanging out with us. Joe S is up first. He says, look up Rodgers' numbers against playoff teams. Well, so I'm imagining that not
probably not all that good, but
yeah, but I'm not going to go back, Joe. And
are we going to look at? Can we look at Zach Wilson's numbers against Super Bowl winning teams, not named the New England Patriots? The only team of the last 15 AFC teams to face the Philadelphia Eagles that have beat the Philadelphia Eagles is the Zach Wilson-led New York Jets.
Yeah, not the Zach Wilson-led New York Jets. The Zach Wilson-attended New York Jets. That was a game we had 4 interceptions and scored a defensive touchdown. Like, dude, please. He led the offense to 4 field goals that game. So
hey,
I hear you.
Green Bean.
I hear you. But that's the thing. Like, I'm not going to go back.
That's the point, Green Bean. The point is, because this is for future comment, the point is like, okay, it's a team sport.
I'm just saying. So you can't say
and they won like 6 games.
Dude, he had like 140 yards in that fucking game. You know what I mean? Like, I just can't do it.
He outfooled Patrick Mahomes. If the Zebras didn't get involved, the Taylor Swift
that I'll give you. That's true. Now, we were down 17-0, and Zach Wilson played arguably his best game as a Jet. Honestly.
Of his life, period.
The Lazard touchdown was one of the best it could be the best I saw him throw. It was tight windows, beautiful. But anyway, I'm not going to go back now, though, Joe, and try to taint his – like, Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
It failed here. Like, that's really what it is. I mean, if we look at his record against any teams while he was here, he's 5 and 12, whatever the fuck we were. So, but I hear you, Joe. But again, we can't deny who Aaron Rodgers is just because he's not a Jet anymore. I don't necessarily want to go back and throw stones. I thought it was going to work, man. I really did. I was excited as I've been in a long time, and it didn't work. And it sucks, Joe. It sucks. Blitz crew checking in. All these comments seem to assume that Aaron would have returned to the Jets next season. For all we know, he told them he would like to move on. And that's possible too. But the reports coming out from the insiders are insinuating otherwise. So again, they were not in the room.
He paid for a jet like out of his own pocket to come. Like, that's not cheap even for millionaires.
Yeah, it's not that bad though. My cousin runs a private jet company. You can fly across the country for, what is it, 10 grand, something like that. That's nothing. It's nothing.
The billionaires, cheap, maybe 10 grand for
I've considered it. I've considered doing shit
Green Bean,
like that.
But we get it. You're,
broke. Yeah, exactly. Because I'm fucking stupid. You know what I'm thinking about doing right now? I'm telling you, I got to make my decision by Friday because that's when tickets go on sale. But Black Sabbath is reuniting for one more show.
Yes, do it. I don't need to hear the rest of it.
Listen, it's the greatest metal. The lineup is built to be the greatest metal show of all time. You and your son.
Go.
But I got to take my whole family.
Okay, then do that. Take a second mortgage out.
Yeah, so I'm thinking. Let me show. I got to derail for just a sec. I got to show you. I got to show you the lineup here.
Sell the car. Green Bean, if you put a donation goal, and at the end of the donation goal you shave your beard, you could get the money for the concert in one Thursday thick of it. Like Thursday thick of it. You put however much it cost for the ticket prices and for like a really nice hotel, throw in a couple extra $100 for what you have to go to this.
Wait, look at it. Hold on, Blitz crew. So look at this. So you got to fly out to Birmingham, England. So you got number one, you got a full set with Ozzy. So that's going to be Zakk Wylde and probably Rudy Sarzo and everything. But the original 4 Black Sabbath, but it's got Metallica, Slayer, Pantera, Gojira, Alice in Chains, Hailstrom, Lamb of God, Anthrax, and Mastodon. I love every band on there except for Hailstrom, and that's just because I don't really know them. But look at this. Here's the gem. Performances, and this is going to be, so they're going to come up and perform with Ozzy, I would imagine. But Billy, the lead singer of Smashing Pumpkins, the singer from Disturbed, the bass player from Guns N' Roses, Fred Durst, Limp Bizkit, Lizzie Hale, Jakey Lee, he was the guitarist in Ozzy for 2 albums, the guy from Korn, KK Downing from Judas Priest, Faith No More, Papa V, are you familiar with the band Ghost?
Yep.
So that's the singer of Ghost.
I know.
Rudy Sarzo, Sammy Hagar, Slash, I guess the guy from Sleep Token, Tom Morello from Rage, and Wolfgang Van Halen. So
yes, Green Bean. I'm telling you, you do one Thursday thick of it with the goal being, I will shave my beard. If we can, you, your family, the whole thing, you'll go, and it'll be only at the cost of your beard.
I feel guilty doing shit like that. I don't like to ask.
I'm not advocating for you to do it. What I'm saying is you have to go. At least you and your son. I saw the clip of him and his band.
Like, yeah, it was great. Did you watch that?
Yeah, of course I did.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome.
It was great. I was so impressed. My son is an animal, but I didn't even know he had that in him.
No.
He was like picking up the snare drum and standing like, it was like, what the fuck what is going on back here?
The
like,
showman. Have you met his father?
Yeah. Right. That's funny.
You got it from somewhere, Green Bean, and I haven't met your wife. So, and I saw that stuff and I was like, yeah, no, that's on brand. I immediately was like, oh no, yeah, that makes sense. For Teen Bean to do all of that stuff as a drummer, absolutely. That makes sense.
Yeah. You know what's funny? Listen to this. JV Free real quick. So yeah, Blitzkrieg, I'm with you, man. We don't know, but the reports coming out of it are that, it was kind of the stipulation. They just couldn't, it turns out like they both had their side and they were actually far apart is kind of the way Connor Hughes said it. So JV Free says, if Aaron Rodgers put up those numbers for another team and became available this year, would you want him as a bridge? I'll tell you what, Jets fans would be clamoring for him. I think that's a great point.
It's a beautiful point that exemplifies everything. Point. If you were to replace Aaron Rodgers with Derek Carr, just switch the names.
Or Kirk Cousins.
No, because I think there's some beef there. Some people are going to say no to Kirk Cousins on principle alone. That's why I said Carr. If you were to just say Carr, Derek Carr, or Jared Stidham had those numbers, you'd be on board.
Yeah.
Because it's Aaron, you're going in with whatever preconceived notion you have of Aaron, whether he's a good guy, whether he's a bad guy, whatever it is, you're going to go in with that bias. And rightfully so.
Yeah,
he's earned the reputation that he has. It didn't just come out of nowhere. Like I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Rodgers is a saint of a human. But let's not act like some of the other greats didn't do the same things that he was doing. Let's not act like Tom Brady didn't go out there and throw guys under the bus and yell at his teammates.
Yeah, but they were winning.
He did those things. The only difference is they were winning. So you're more willing to look past the app, like all of the stories that are coming out of the stuff that was happening in New England now, because all of those guys are retired. Like Edelman has his own Edelman has his own podcast, and you hear all of these things, and you're just like, how are they getting away with this? And then you remember, oh, they were winning Super Bowls. People, right?
Well, but it's not just that; it's the fact that it's working. So when you're like, so if somebody's yelling and screaming at everybody, and they're winning and getting championships, it's working. So then then you leave it alone. When it's not working and you're doing it is when it's a fucking problem. And I think rightfully so.
I agree. It's like I'm saying, winning cures.
It does
a lot of ailments.
It really does. Dante checking in. What's the actual status of Jordan Travis's injury as of today?
We have no idea.
Is he healed yet? Our last update was from, honest to God, I don't know, man. He had a setback like later in the season, but we don't know what that means. Again, if you go into training camp and he's not ready for training camp, or, if they get indications that he's not, then it's a different story. He needs to be healthy to have any weight put on the idea that, behind the idea that he's going to have a shot. at this thing. Let me see. Jordan Travis's injury update. Let me see.
I looked into it a couple of days ago. Since Ulbrich was let go, like the last report we have on Jordan Travis is from Ulbrich, and it makes sense because players aren't at the team facilities. They're not going to meet with the team doctors. Like it'll be a couple of weeks before we get to that point. So my expectation is that we'll get an update on Jordan Travis, right? Like
there's nothing
when they have to go back to the facility, for like voluntary stuff.
Yeah. So, and that, look, and the other thing, like going with this whole Aaron Rodgers thing is you do need, no matter which way I'm glad at least they made the decision now, though. Like,
I didn't want
like it or not. It's really important going into the combine and the draft, obviously, that you know what you're looking at. You can't let this shit linger. And, so I'm at least happy that they did that. I was admittedly a little nervous. But you know what I got to point out? The idea, Aaron Glenn, putting the stipulations on Aaron Rodgers, like, look, man, we don't want the drama and all that. I don't know if he's aware of what our owner's all about. Yeah. So, he's got to know, like, which is why, when they trade up and take Sanders, because Woody wants it, like that lightning, we're just replacing one lightning rod with the other. I'm telling you, Tigo, don't be surprised, buddy.
I'm not going to be surprised. I'm just going to hate every second of it. I'm not going to be surprised. But like my whole thing too is this narrative or this message going to be consistent? That's what I care about now. Because like Sauce has a YouTube channel that he runs regularly and a Twitch stream that he streams on regularly.
His video games.
But he talks about the Jets on his stream. I'm subscribed. I can ask questions. I'm in the Sauce Discord. Like, he doesn't hide or like if you ask him a question and he sees it, he'll answer it. So again, is the standard going to be set for everybody, or is this just anti-superstar quarterback for Rodgers, which I think it's going to be? Because
don't forget though, and again, what side I wanted to bring him back, but you can't forget not just anti-superstar quarterback, anti-42-year-old 41 in fairness. Superstar. He will be 42 during the season. But so anti-41-year-old superstar quarterback who played spotty ball and led the team to 5 wins.
Totally.
So, you know what I mean? There's a lot on both sides. There's a lot on both sides. That's the thing. Boogie Down Bronx checking in. What's up, buddy? Good to see you. Tigo, I really don't understand what your complaint is about. This was a move. This was a move that was better for the Jets as an organization moving forward. We're not a Super Bowl team right now. What are you talking about? And I'm going to add this. Go ahead. What are you talking about, motherfucker? Is that okay, Boogie Down Bronx? That I added that for you? I think that's what he wanted to say.
Can I respond with, what are you talking about, motherfucker? Did you
I don't say that to him.
Did you see the Kansas City Chiefs roster with no offensive tackles, no wide receivers, no running backs, and coaching, and Patrick Mahomes was the only thing that got them to the Super Bowl? Are we going to pretend like the commies are a good football team? They're not. Their roster is atrocious. Like, either good coaching matters or it doesn't. You can't have both. The anomaly this year was the Eagles. The Eagles are the best built team in all of sports history. They don't have a single hole on that roster. I don't think we will ever see a roster as well built as the Philadelphia Eagles this year for the rest of our lives. That's how good this roster was. But outside of that, can you name one of the AFC teams that is built well? Or are they built well, or are they coached well, or do they have good quarterback play?
Right.
Because that's a majority of the team that was coming into the playoffs this year. The Pittsburgh Steelers didn't have a quarterback, but they were a damn well coached football team. They won 10 games and made the playoffs. And Russell Wilson is also a free agent this year, and they don't look like they're going to bring him back. They're not, and they're going to try to find and move on. And they just won 10 games this year. Ironically, 4 of them with Justin Fields, I believe. But like, still, they won 10 games this year. That's a good coached football team. We all saw Sam Darnold fall apart. He's not a good quarterback. He's average at best. But the Minnesota Vikings are a damn well coached football team, and they made the playoffs. The same thing can be said about the Detroit Lions and Jared Goff. McVay moved on from Goff, and McVay is hailed as a god amongst men in the NFL when it comes to head coach and offensive minds. And they are just a really damn well-coached football team. Let's not pretend like coaching doesn't matter. If we had good coaching this year, we win 10 games. If we had a GM that wasn't checked out and good coaching this year, we win 10 games. And once you get to the playoffs, anything can happen because nobody, and I mean nobody, thought that the commies of all teams in the NFC was going to make it to an NFC championship game.
Yeah, no way. Right.
It was going to be Eagles, Lions, or Eagles, Vikings, period. Nobody, not a single person in the chat anywhere else that wasn't a commies fan said Eagles, commies. Not one. And we all went into that game rooting for the commies because, well, screw the Eagles. That's the point. The point is either good coaching matters and you think that Aaron Glenn is a good coach. And if he is, he could have won 10 games with Aaron Rodgers being an average quarterback, which is what he was, or he's not a good coach and we're back in this situation. I like to believe that Aaron Glenn is a good coach, that Tanner Engstrand is a good coach, because believing the other is just actively choosing sadness. And I want the team to make me sad, not my opinions on the team to make me sad. And that's the point. Good coaching matters. Yeah. It matters a hell of a lot.
And you know what's so sad about it? Like, look, I don't mean to throw our new quarterback coach under the bus or anything, but we're talking about bringing on a young kid. Well, even if it's Jordan Travis, right? Jordan Travis, we got to work on his mechanics, right? We want to work on his throwing motion. And we bring in a guy who's never played quarterback and has never coached quarterbacks.
Yep.
That's my biggest rub for this. Like, again, it feels like once again, the Jets have in some capacity watered down or, just not taken with the seriousness that it needs to be the offensive side of the ball. Like the most important position on the team. And we have a coach that's kind of, we're like, why can't we just make sure for once the guy responsible for the most important position is lights out? You're uber confident in his ability to coach the damn position. Once again, we have I don't know what to even think of this guy. But when you look at guys like Jackson Dart, who's got his positives, but boy, oh boy, do I not like his weaknesses, man. He's sloppy. And then like Milroe, who I love. Dude, he's got Zach Wilson sailing the ball over everybody's head or throwing it into their fucking feet. He's got it written all over him. But it's like Josh Allen when he came in, accuracy issues. But they had Dable there with him, and he worked on that guy. You know what I mean? So, and then I forget who they had another coach I liked up there.
Joe,
but
was not Joe.
Yeah, I forget who it was, but because they prioritized, like, look, we're trading up to use a first-round pick on a quarterback. We're going to make sure we give him the best possible chance to work through these deficiencies because we like the strengths. If you bring on Jalen Milroe and just expect him to be the guy, it's not going to work. And Tanner Engstrand, of course, he'll have impact, but he's the offensive coordinator. He's got a bigger job. That's why position coaches are so vitally important. And once again, it just seems like the D was the priority. And I'm so sick of it, Tigo. I really am. And that's where when you have an Aaron Rodgers, it's like you don't need to coach him necessarily. You know what I mean? Like if it's new schematics and things like that, sure. But you don't need to coach him on how to throw, play, whatever. You don't need to do any of that shit. But these young guys.
All you need to do with Aaron is teach him a new vocabulary, right? Because there's a new syntax that Tanner Engstrand is going to want to do. And that's really it. Like, a lot of people are like, Aaron was going to want to run his offense. And I was like, but he didn't do that with the Jets this past year. We ran play action. He threw up the middle. Those are the two things that seem to be the things that he's against. I think the biggest issue that you were going to have with Aaron is, and I think rightfully so, would have been run the play that's called. Don't check out of the play. Unless it's like agreed upon, like this is like, hey, if the middle linebacker comes into the B gap, you kill the play.
Maybe that was the real rub. They just said, "Look, dude, we want you to run the play that's called."
Maybe again, we'll
And
never
he went,
know.
"No, absolutely,
Absolutely.
All right.
If I don't get to say Wolf, what am I doing here?
Exactly. All right. Let me catch up with some super chats. We have a lot of people chiming in. Joe. So Joe in his previous comment was talking about last season. Well, I mean, Joe, the thing, and thank you for the clarification. But last year he only beat 5 teams anyway. So his record was 5-12, no matter how you slice. I mean, who did we beat last year? We beat the Patriots. Did we beat them twice?
Yes.
Did we beat the Pats twice, maybe? We beat the Jaguars. We beat the Titans. So, look, we beat the team with the number 1 overall pick. We beat the Jags, who are hot garbage. What are they before? I think they're right after us in the draft.
Yeah.
So
technically better than us.
Yeah. But it's like still like we didn't beat anybody of note, really. The Texans, really? That was about it.
Yeah, but we've got the Texans number. I don't think like the Texans are they're gonna perpetually lose to us.
Yeah. So there you go, Joe. Joe M checking in. Is there any scenario where we keep Devante Adams? And if so, would it be a good choice? I would love to. I just don't see it. I mean, they're already talking about the teams that he's agreed to be willing to be traded to or play for. I'd love to try. I'd love to get something for him.
I think he's going to the West Coast. I think he's going to end up in LA. I think that makes a ton of sense.
I think they're going to go together. I think they're both going to end up with a 1 year with the Niners.
I think they're going to stick with Brock Purdy. I think that they're going to go 1 year deal with. I think Stafford's done. I think Stafford's body is done. Like I just don't think that it can hold up. So I think Stafford's going to retire, and I think Devante and Rodgers.
So they're going to get rid of the 36-year-old and replace him with a 41-year-old.
Yeah, but like it's a different 36. Like we've all, totally. That's a broken 36.
Stafford had some rough years up there in Detroit, baby.
Rough years.
Yeah, he's
it's
still
not
a good
the
quarterback.
same. It's not a.
He's still a good quarterback. But I don't know. I don't think there is a scenario. I mean, I'd love to see. I'd be happy if they did, but work it out.
Especially like if it's a multi-year deal.
Yeah, because it's real hard to work it out with them when you don't even know who your fucking quarterback is, though. He's at the end of his career. He's trying to do these guys at the end of their career. They'd love to go win.
Yep.
End the career on a winning note. That's what they'd love to do. So I don't see it, Joe.
I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to Kansas City because Kelsey's probably hanging up his cleats.
I know. What a little pussy. You know what I mean? He wore his like glitter shirt walking in, flipping his hair around, and he looked like a sourpuss the whole game. Like, wah.
And they had to publicly come out and apologize.
The refs aren't helping us. It's like it was weird. It's weird, dude. He looked like he was pouting the whole game.
Yeah, you are what you eat.
Yeah. Well, hey, Taylor was there. Taylor was there. Well, my wife told me, she goes, I heard there's a rumor that Travis Kelce's going to propose to Taylor Swift at halftime. I said, whoever told you that, tell him I said they're a complete moron. That would never happen. Never.
He only proposes if they win.
Right. And there's a whole half of football left. Arbiv checking in. What's up, buddy? He says, if we are going to be in cap hell for 1 or 2 years with a first-time head coach, shouldn't we look to trade Garrett? No.
I don't think we should look to trade Garrett.
I think we
should look to trade Brees.
Well, the argument to trade Brees is more sound, but you're not going to get anything for him. You're selling low.
So again, that's why we should have kept Rodgers. Because you're not going to extend Brees.
Well, that's the only thing. But look, people say, well, then get something for him while you can. Well, how about you get a year of production? Run him into the ground. You know what I mean? Like, actually, how about this? Actually give the guy the ball 20 times a game. We haven't done that. We didn't do that once all year. We haven't done it once. I don't think we've done it.
This upcoming year with Glenn and honestly Tanner Engstrom, because they run the ball incredibly well in Detroit. Like, that's my expectation, because we don't have the 400,000-pound anchor on our run game that is Keith Carter. So the expectation is that the running is going to get better. Like, that might be the way we go next year. Screw the quarterback. Screw everything like that. Garrett's unhappy and is probably asking for a trade anyway. Run the ball with Brees and Braylon 40 times a game.
Yeah. So that's like, I mean, Garrett Wilson, look, what you really got to do, Arbiv, is you got to extend Garrett Wilson. You keep
gotta
guys
try.
like that around. Like, look at Mike Evans down there in Tampa, right? Same thing.
Yep.
He played for losing. He got 1,000 yards every single year, no matter what they were doing down there. What other, whatever else was going on, the losing and all that shit. And they keep him around. They figure it out, and they go get a Super Bowl ring. And then he's still, you know what I mean? Like, you keep your great players, especially at positions like wide receiver. That's my opinion on it. Garrett Wilson is elite in my book. Okay.
We should do everything in our power to keep him.
9 quarterbacks in 3 years. And look, money, dude, you sit him down, you tell him, look, we hear you. We get it. We want you to know we're invested in you. We are going to be holding everybody accountable to playing as hard as you play. No more plays off from anybody. If that happens, the accountability will be very visible to you. You will not have to endure guys playing absolutely abysmal football and still lining up with you every single play for every single game. You're not going to deal with that anymore. Here's a 4-year contract for $120 million. Sign it. We want you to be the face of this franchise. That's how they should handle Garrett Wilson. Now, like Tigo said, if you want to get something for Brees before, because you're not going to extend him, unlikely, well, what are you going to get? 5th, 4th, maybe? I mean, I don't know. Who knows?
No, like, I'm with you, Green Bean. Like this exact question comes back to why I thought you should have kept Rodgers. It comes back to this. You have 1 year left of Brees. That's it. You're not going to extend him. That's why we drafted Braylon. And so I guess you take the 5th round pick, and that sucks. That sucks that's how it ends.
Yeah, I'd rather run him. I'd rather run him into the
choosing
ground.
That we're going to lose.
Yeah, I'd rather run him into the ground. Like, think about this, guys. Brees Hall, he had 1,200 or so all-purpose yards this year. He had 1,600 the year before, and the guy's never getting the ball 20 times a game. It's very rare. We didn't do it once last year.
He rushed for over 75 yards last year once.
Yeah, because he's getting the ball 8 times.
No. I'm not blaming him.
No, I know. I'm actually supporting your point.
Once behind an O-line that was much, much improved from the one before, outside of Tyron Smith. But that was.
Yeah.
I think we should go to Geneva. We should go to Switzerland, because what Keith Carter did to our run game last year, I think it's cruel and unusual punishment.
Yeah.
That's like
brutal.
That's like at the level, maybe even higher than like what the Japanese did to the Chinese during World War II.
Oh my God.
It was just bamboo shoots under the fingernails. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Thank you, Arbib. So I disagree with the sentiment about trading. I wouldn't trade Garrett Wilson if he even asked me for it. If he said, look, I'm requesting a trade, I would say denied. So I would just tell him, like, look, dude, there isn't a world unless your agent can go out there and pony up 2+ first-round picks, like 2 first-round picks and change. I'm not even listening to the conversation. So just know that your request is denied. I got you under contract. I'm definitely putting up, activating your 5th-year option. There's no doubt. So I got you for 2 more years. Whether or not I franchise you after that remains to be seen. But just assume I will.
Twice.
Yeah, So just assume I'm going to do that. And then you're playing on 1-year contracts, kid. Don't do it. I'll give you a 4-year contract with $80 million guaranteed. You know what I mean? Let's work like that, because I'm not trading you. We love you. I love you. That's what I'd say. I'd buy him a diamond ring and get on my knees. That's what I'd do. New York Jets Indy checking in. What's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. He says, moving on. It's great job, Aaron Glenn. We can win without Aaron Rodgers. Well, we will see. Well, look, bringing it down to brass tacks, everybody. We just saw Aaron Rodgers for a year. Garrett Wilson was here. Devante Adams was here for most of the season, since Halloween or whatever. We won 5 fucking games. Now, again, it's not all him, right? We had 6 fourth quarter losses and all that jazz. So we're not going to
Kicker
blame him,
losses
but
3
you can.
games.
But you also but you also can't remove him from it. He was a factor in all of those losses. There's not one game where you could say Aaron Rodgers was lights out today and we lost. It wasn't that way. So that's what we're really talking about. But the counter argument is that he was coming off the Achilles. The Tyron Smith experiment was brutal. He got hit like 26 times in 2 games. You know what I mean? The offensive, once Fashanu came in, it was much, much better offensive line. And like, look, they got a year playing together now, like the offensive line, the quarterback, receivers, all that kind of stuff. So there's an argument. But the truth is like you said, dude, we won 5 games with them last year. So I think we can figure it out too, man. I'm not all doom and gloom. I'm not. I'm with you.
I just want to. I'm having a hard time. Like my thing is like I'm sad now because I don't see a path forward that I'm all that excited about. Once there's a plan in place, and once we see that plan, give it 2 or 3 weeks, and the Stockholm syndrome will kick in, and I'm all back. I'm back all in.
I hear you, but let me point this out.
But the Stockholm syndrome hasn't kicked in yet. That's where we're at. It's a new regime. It's a new thing, and it's just like. I can't see past. We won 5 games this year. We're probably going to win 5 games next year.
All right. Let me hear that. I will see your bet and I will raise you. You're too young to remember Vinny Testaverde, right?
I remember the idea of Vinny. Okay. I remember watching moving shapes on the television and my father yelling at Vinny Testaverde in Portuguese.
Okay.
Those are my memories.
Jets, so this is how it happened. My era, my generation and above will remember this. The Jets had Neil O'Donnell, right? The Jets traded for, or we're not, we signed Neil O'Donnell in free agency because he lost the Super Bowl. It's a Jets thing. He lost the Super Bowl. He threw 2 picks, 2 interceptions in the Super Bowl to 12th round pick. I forget his first name, Brown, the cornerback for the Cowboys. He lost the Super Bowl, and the Jets made him their priority. He was from Mountain Lakes. He's from a hometown boy and everything in New Jersey. We gave him a big contract, Tigo, at the time, $5 million a year for 5 years. So we go 1-15, and Kotite resigns. We hire Parcells. They go 9-7 with Neil O'Donnell for most of the year. And then right in the offseason, Parcells cuts Neil O'Donnell and signs much maligned Vinny Testaverde. Now, let me tell you, because I was already active on Jets message boards, okay, at the time. I was already doing this thing. I didn't have my channel or anything, but I was already out there talking Jets all fucking day at work, you know, that kind of thing. On my AT&T computer, just, you know, not working all day talking to Jets fans. 90% of them, I'm telling you it's true, were like, this is the stupidest move. Now, we didn't like Neil O'Donnell. It wasn't about the cutting Neil O'Donnell, but that we were going into the season with Glenn Foley as our starter and Vinny Testaverde, pick 6 Testaverde as our backup. We were miserable. We're going to waste the Parcells years and the whole thing. That was the overall sentiment coming in. If you have good coaching, as we know what happened, Foley started the first 3 games or so, got hurt, Testaverde came in, and it's a wrap. And he played the best year of his career, or among the best years of his career. So we don't necessarily, like, maybe the idea is not to be all excited. Maybe the idea is to go, let's see what happens. You know what I mean? Like last 2 years, we were bubbling over with excitement, and it failed. So
it's like any situation, right? If it came out that Moogs trades up to the number 1 and it's like, no, we're getting Cam Ward, like that's happening, I'm gonna be against the move in the beginning.
But you know what?
But it'll warm on me because I like
because
Cam
we're fans, Shador. Right? You find a way to root for it. That's what we do.
Always pick.
But let me tell you who Parcells. So look, Parcells, defense, right? Defensive coach, Belichick as his defensive coordinator, Romeo Crennel, all the guys. But this was this is what he put into the offense. He had Charlie Weiss as his offensive coordinator and Ron fucking Earhart as his quarterback coach, who was a very successful offensive coordinator in the NFL. Like, he prioritized quarterback. Ron Earhart was our offensive coordinator the year before. He kept him and made him our quarterback coach, which was just so incredibly smart. And that's why I'm just disappointed with this damn choice for quarterback coach. I just don't like it. It's like what we did with Calabrese. It's like, who the fuck is Rob Cal? He's never done anything. And you're giving him the most important job on the team. He's the quarterback coach.
Going to be, because we are forced into a position where we need a young guy, whether this year or next year. And it's a guy who's never played quarterback and never coached quarterbacks. That's my problem
with this. Right. That's my argument against it. Sodak checking in. You guys a bit surprised? Yeah, I'm surprised. Think about this, Sodak. And I say this every time we do this. Every coaching high, I say the same shit. When are the Jets going to go for the guy who's actually won? Right? Like, Borgonzi was coming from the team that won the last 2 Super Bowls and was likely to get into the 3rd straight Super. Why can't we get a guy from that organization? No, we go to the Denver Broncos, who've done nothing. Now, they've had a nice little turnaround this year. Applaud them. Good job. But what have they done? He was also a part of the brain trust that hired Hackett as head coach. Russ traded for Russell Wilson. You know what I mean? So, and then even with Aaron Glenn, like,
God, you're making it worse. I didn't even think about the brain trust that hired Hackett and the.
Of course,
I didn't even think of that green bean.
Oh my God, you didn't even know that?
We were having a good night. I was starting to get happy and believing again.
So I'm blown up. Now look, I'm not anti. Now here's the silver lining though. Bringing in Spielman softened that for me. Like, I'm like, okay, all right. So he's a young whippersnapper. He's a young hotshot kind of a guy. He's going to be raw. He's going to make hotshot types of decisions. But Spielman is in the house who can say, hey, hear me out. Here's my experience with that exact thought process. I've been here before. Did you think about this? So Spielman being here makes the Muji hiring much more palatable for me. I was not excited about Muji. Okay. Quite frankly, what was the guy's name that was on the Lions and then went to the assistant GM of the Commanders this year? What was his name again? No. Norwood or some I'm ridiculous. Yeah, I forget his name.
Hire a guy, I forget everybody else.
But that guy, again, like, why are we hiring the guy from the Commanders? But that made sense because he was a part of 2 teams.
Rebuilds.
That turned long-suffering teams that turned it around. That made sense. Muji to me
Lance Newmark,
right? Yeah, I would say Norwood, Newmark. So that at least made sense to me. This doesn't make sense. But the Jets never, ever, ever go out and get. We did it once with Bill Parcells.
The only general manager spot available, and we took ages to hire the general manager.
We let everybody else get into the mix before we fucking hired some. We interviewed 700 people.
Team that was available, and we could have gone, like, we could have made an offer. And look, to be fair to Muji, we have no idea if Borgonzi is going to be a good general manager,
right?
Because, like, we all believe that JD was going to be a good general manager.
He was good.
But all of those things aside, to give him the benefit of the doubt, we could have gone to, like you said, Borgonzi, coming from an organization that had won 2 Super Bowls back to back. And I believe in his time there, I think he has 3 Super Bowl rings. So it's just like, we could have made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
Right. And that's like the whole thing, like with Vrabel, right? It's like you were the only vacancy. If Vrabel was your guy, you don't let him leave. You say, dude, $15 million a year, 7-year, 8-year contract, whatever the fuck. Pick your GM. You make it. It's just like what Leon has. Do you know what Leon has had to do to get Bill Parcells from the Patriots? Like, he had to literally steal him to the degree that got held up. He took the rest of his staff and hired Belichick as the head coach until Parcells could be here. Like, you gotta Yeah, it's just like what the Broncos did with Sean Payton. They said, that's our guy. What do we need to pay? We don't care. For 2 first, they don't care. They're draft picks. The coach is vital. The GM is vital.
Yep.
So we go and get a guy who nobody's ever heard of from a team that's done nothing and has made a series of pretty sketchy moves when you look at Hackett and Russell Wilson in the past 3 years. And then you go get Aaron Glenn. Why did we interview 500 people? If Aaron Glenn, he's a former Jet, then he's your guy, obviously.
You know what I think it was? Honestly, the New York Jets, I think that they were trying to be the Chargers of last cycle, this cycle. I think they knew who their guy was because the Chargers knew they were going to hire Harbaugh, but they interviewed 30,000 people. And it was just to make it maybe seem like they wouldn't.
Yeah, but they knew. Yeah, I know. But again, like we were the only vacancy. You should have moved on it all. Again, if you don't, I'm not even saying, I'm just using Vrabel and Borgonzi as examples, but it's like, it's the Jets. We've sucked forever. When are we going to make the big move and get the guys? Just like what Leon Hess did with Bill Parcells. He said, that's my guy. I don't care what it takes. I'm getting it done.
Yeah.
Dante checking in. Leon and the Jets got sued for that move. It was gangster moment from Hess. Right. And it's what built Tannenbaum. Remember, the term poison pill became popularized by how he stole Curtis Martin the year after that. Like they gave him a free agent contract offer that if the Patriots, I forget the details, but if they matched it, it like ruined their team. It was crazy.
They literally changed the rules. We were playing dirty. If you're not cheating, you're not trying to win.
Right. I mean, I like how you put that, Dante. It was a gangster move. So
I still have a Hess Jets truck.
When they asked Leon Hess if he was intimidated at all, like, with Bob Kraft and all that, he said, dude, I've negotiated with Muammar Gaddafi with a revolver on the table. Me and him in an office with a revolver on the table. I think I'll be okay dealing with Bob Kraft. That's the shit Leon Hess said. Now, he was not a great owner, okay? It was neat being connected to Hess, but the truth is he was not a good owner. No. But at the end, he made a decision in his 80s, fuck this. I'm stomping all over everybody. I don't give a shit. I'm getting done what I need to get done. And we got close. We lost in the AFC Championship game and everything and then he died. And then, Woody and Parcells left because he didn't want to work for Woody Johnson and the whole thing, So it just sucks. But anywho, we went a little bit late today, Tigo. Yes, fun show. I want to thank everybody for hanging out. I want to thank everybody for contributing to the show. Tigo, you're the best, man. You got anything coming up?
Yes. I'm doing a series on mock off seasons of the New York Jets. I'm waiting for my sadness to go away a little bit because I recorded a whole video and then it was just doom and gloom. Like I traded everybody. I traded Garrett gone, Brees gone, Quinnen gone, Sauce gone. Like I was just in my feels a little bit too much. So I'm redoing it with some actual hope and positivity. So that should be coming out over the next couple of days. But honestly, I haven't been able to do much. I don't know if you've been able to tell, but I've been squinting a lot. It's because my glasses broke. My youngest came off the top rope, elbowed me right in the face, and broke the other side of my glasses. And I get them tomorrow. My new ones tomorrow. So I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
But
I haven't noticed you were squinting, but I'll tell you, I got to get like literally the last 2 weeks, I can't see. Even right now, everything's blurry. Like you'll see me. I'm doing the old man thing.
That's why I've been going over here to read the chat. Like I normally can just sit here because we have the chat and I can just stare at I can't do it. I have a massively zoomed in screen so I can see the chat over here so I can talk to them.
Yeah, it's brutal. But all right, guys, thank you for hanging out. I want to remind you about the great offer from BetUS, everyone. A 150% bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000, all by using the promo code YouTube150 at America's favorite sportsbook, BetUS. I thank you for hanging out. Please don't forget to hit that like button. Squeeze those milk thumbs for us. And subscribe to the channel if you have not already. I will see you tomorrow night with Dom and Gunny on the Thursday Thick of It on Green Bean Jets Fan YouTube channel. With that all said, have a great night, everybody. We will see you. Where is it?
Always looking for a Green Bean.
Because it's fucking crazy, Tigo. Where is it? I'm
We've been
supposed to
going
be
through the
able to just
closing-
end it. All right. No, I see it's not working. Hold on.
Well, you do
We
that.
will see
Chat.
you next time, everybody.